Finishing this clean to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 298th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to talk about the round one results. I'm going to cover the Cass win over Kell. We'll unveil our play of the week, and then we'll also look at the second round matchups, some more game recaps, as well as some basketball week one action. But let's get started with our game. Cass over Kell. So the one thing we said last week, Kell was hot going into the matchup. You can't underestimate Cass. It's a team that is well known. They're coming out of the toughest, deepest region. They just had a huge win over Calhoun. They were getting Devin Henderson back. They upset Jefferson last year in the first round as the number 4 seed. And they have incredible talent with Sokovie White, Devin Henderson, and then their sophomore quarterback, Brody McCorder. And that's where I want to start. Brody McCorder in that game did not look like a sophomore. He is very impressive, and it's clear that he's taken a massive step throughout this season just in terms of leadership and overall athleticism. When we covered the Cartersville game, he played outstanding. He was making throws, he was extending plays, and that was really when we saw him for the first time use his legs to make a big impact in the game. When you have a guy like Sokovie who's going to be able to get that secondary running deep, when you have a guy in the backfield like Devin Henderson that's going to require a lot of attention, there's openings for Brody, whether it's him scrambling or a play design. And so I think, going into that matchup, Kell had to have known that he can do that with his legs. He only had 2 rushing touchdowns, I think, heading into the Kell game, but obviously he had 3 big rushing touchdowns and basically gave them the 21-7 lead with his second score right before the half. And it was just a really tough game for Kell. They were dealing with some injuries. Peyton Zachary was out, had some running backs out. Bryce Clavin got hurt. I think his shoulder. I think he'll be fine, but he had to come out of the game in the second half. And then anytime Kell had a chance to get momentum, get back in the game, either it was a self-inflicted penalty, mistake, turnover, or a tough call. I'll admit some of the calls that went against him were questionable. There was a big stop they got on 4th down and 10. I thought it was a good pass breakup. They ended up calling pass interference. That hurt them. That was right before the 4th quarter. They could have gotten the stop. It would have been a 21-7 game. They could have scored early in the 4th, made it a 1-score game, potentially come back. Instead, that penalty gave Cass new life, and they punched it in. Another big play, a similar type scenario, but kind of when they had their last chance to get back in it or try to drop a miracle, you got the quarterback, Brody McCorder, back there punting. It's not something that's uncommon. He's been punting this year. and they roughed the punter, basically sacked him. And then you watch the end of the game, Kell gets a late touchdown. They have a chance to do an onside kick, and the Kell guy touches the ball probably 2 yards off the tee. It obviously has to go 10 yards. So just thought they made a lot of mistakes. It was a frustrating night for them. A lot of penalties, but all the credit to Cass. They just showed up and they outfought Kell. Plain and simple, they played physical. Sokovie White was spectacular. Brody was definitely impressive. I think he's going to be a big impact for them, obviously the rest of the playoffs, but moving forward, I'm completely sold on him. It's just amazing. He's only a sophomore, and so that's actually going to be our play of the week. You're going to see Brody McWhorter running into the end zone, and here's what's so special about this play. They just ran it on the previous drive, so a similar situation. He's reading the defense. It's a design carry, and then watch his ability to just use his size, speed, get to the open space, get outside, and run this touchdown in. This really was when, because both teams came out hot, but this is, I think, when Cass really took control of the game and allowed their defense just to keep balling out, so, and produce all those turnovers. But let's go ahead and roll this. We're going to see Brody
Cass
right
sends a
here.
man in motion again. It's a fake handoff again. McWhorter, same play, scored the touchdown a moment ago. Still on his feet inside the 5, and he's going to score a touchdown. Brody McWhorter, rushing score again. Takes a hit after the play's over with, but he
So
has
just
extended
makes
the
this,
Colonel's
like,
lead.
easy. Let's play it one more time. Watch how he freezes the linebackers.
Same play, just flip the formation, and Brody McWhorter, man, didn't know he had this in his game, but he has hurt Kell with his legs.
Cass sends a man in motion.
So he's going to break a couple tackles, but
Again, it's a fake
really,
handoff
you
again.
just see
McWhorter,
his
same play,
size.
scored the touchdown a moment ago. Still on his feet inside the 5, and he's going to score a touchdown. Brody McWhorter, rushing score again. Takes a hit after the play's over with, but he has extended the Colonel's lead.
Same play, just flip the formation, and Brody McWhorter, man, didn't know he had this in his game, but he has hurt Kell with his legs. Lucky Kell.
Yep, and as Rusty pointed out, lucky Kell didn't get another penalty on that late shove after the touchdown. But Brody on that play, he gets downhill extremely fast. So now Kell's defensive front, they're behind him. They're trying to get an arm on him. And then even though they're in the red zone and the field's kind of shortened, no Kell player is able to just get in front of him. He's able to basically elude the entire defense, a good heads-up play, and just a really impressive performance by Brody, who was our offensive player of the game. As far as Devin Henderson goes, what can you say about him more than he is just an unbelievable high school football player. He's committed to Liberty. I think he is the talent to go wherever he wants. He can do it all. He plays defense, tackles well. He's a fighter. He doesn't come off the field, and he's just a great kid. And he had their first touchdown of the game. Cass needed just 6 plays to score. They had a nice return on the opening kickoff to the 40. Sokovie White had a ridiculous catch in double coverage to get them down by the end zone. And then from the 2-yard line, Devin Henderson did a Cam Newton sky jump over the line of scrimmage, extended the ball out, got them the touchdown. Kell ended up blocking the extra point and then was actually able to take a lead. They marched right down the field and went up 7-6. But what I was saying, because this is the highest scoring offense in 5A with Kell, and they only had 7 points until the final, I think it was minute 18. It was very reminiscent of Cass's game against Kell this year, where they ended up getting shut out despite making big plays. Why'd they get shut out? They kept turning the ball over. They couldn't convert on third down, and then they never came close to the end zone. That's what it felt like for Kell the entire game. Anytime they had a chance, it'd be a turnover, it'd be a penalty that backed them up, and really they never came close to scoring until the very end. So it was a 28-14 victory. It was every bit as dominant as you would think. A very impressive performance. Coach Gates, Kell's coach, was absolutely thrilled. This is his 4th year there. He had a 4-year vision, and obviously this is just a really special senior class. I also thought Caden Ellis played unbelievable on that defensive line. He got after it, threw off their timing all game, and then even late in the action when they're up 28-7, the defensive staff for Cass was trying to take Caden out of the game, and he did not want to come out. He actually got yelled at, but he went back in there and he wanted a sack. So he was just confident out there, wasn't afraid of them physically, and you saw a lot of guys like him where maybe in other games they didn't play as much on both sides of the ball, but they did. So Cass's top O linemen were playing defensive line. Their top defensive line, obviously, they're going in there on certain drives and they're dominating the trenches. And so I think Cass won the battle in the trenches undoubtedly. And then you look at what Jacoby White was able to do. He just is a spectacular playmaker, makes all those difficult catches, and it is just a tough outing for Kell. They did win the region title, had a really solid season. I just think Cass has been in a few more grinded out tough games, and their season was really up in the air 2 weeks ago before the bye when they were playing Calhoun. They had to win that game or they're going to miss out on the playoffs. So they had already been in a situation with it all on the line where Kell hadn't yet. They had pretty much cruised to double-digit victories the last 7 games, I think. And so they didn't get the spark. It's tough. A lot of excitement this season. Credit to Kyle Vaca. I think him going there, it's tough that he didn't get his 1,000 yards. I think he easily could have if Bryce was playing and if they would have advanced. But, I mean, 11 touchdowns this season, and I think it was a great decision because Johns Creek obviously didn't get to make the playoffs, so I think he did everything he could his senior year to help his teammates and have a fun year. So hopefully Kell can shake that one off. Great teams do lose in the playoffs. We saw it, a lot of big upsets in the first round. So let's move on and look at some of the other ones. I think a game that impressed me was in 4A on Saturday. Perry beating Burke County 35-14. And as you guys know, Perry lost to Spalding in their region championship game, and then that gave them the number 2 seed, and that is Coulter Ginn. Their quarterback has been out since the Griffin game. So the offense, which was absolutely cruising, has had to adapt. And Colin McDaniel, the junior, before this season had only attempted 10 career passes, 1 as a freshman and then 9 last year. And then he's come in these last few games and he is already at 100 pass attempts. He's completed 71 of them, and he had a really nice game. Turnovers are still a problem, but I think with basically a first-time starter, that's something you can keep working on. He's got great size, 6'1". Perry has been well known for having great quarterbacks throughout the years. He's basically gotten put into a tough situation, but I wanted to give him credit. He was 21 of 25 passing for 152 yards He had 1 touchdown and then 2 interceptions. And if you look at his last 5 games, once he got put into the starting role, he was 6-7 against Griffin. That was a 41-7 win. Against Baldwin, that was one where Perry had to come back. 14 of 21 passing, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had 3 interceptions in the Spalding game, just 1 touchdown. But then these last few weeks, he was 12 of 13 against West Lawrence in their season finale, and then 21 of 25. So that is a good sign if you're a Panthers fan. Colin McDaniel going in there playing really efficient, 71% completions, and lead them to a big playoff victory over a really talented Burke County team. So that happened on Saturday. You also had Westminster finally getting over the first round hump. They had, I think, lost their last, might have been their last 6 first-round games. I think every single one since they won that state title several years ago. But they got a 27-17 win over Heritage Catoosa. Heritage Catoosa is a solid team. They actually almost beat Central Carroll in their season finale. They went up 24-10 and then held on to the 27-17 victory. Cedartown had a big 21-7 win over Holy Innocents on Saturday. Jumped out to a 21-0 lead. That's a big result for them. They obviously had a really brutal loss in the finals last year. Came out, had some tough outings, but getting the big playoff win, that is going to go a long way. New Hampstead 40-12 win over Westside Macon. That's a team that prior to this year, they would just lose so many close games, but it looks like their pass attack's been outstanding. They come out of a really difficult region, and now they've got a really intriguing matchup with Stars Mill this upcoming week. And Stars Mill has been so good defensively, one of the best defensive teams in 4A, but I think offensively, New Hampstead does have some firepower. North Oconee, the number 2 ranked team in 4A, a clear state championship contender, beat Pace Academy 52-13. They have outscored their opponents, I think, by 44 points per game this year. You had Lovett beating Madison County on the road. That was Madison County's first ever home playoff game. That was a 31-24 victory. Troop held off Cairo 14-10 to advance. I think that region almost swept. And then Luella had a big 26-21 win over East Forsyth. Also in 4A, LaGrange beat Westover 45-6. They might be the hottest team in 4A right now, but they've got to play Benedictine next week. A big-time matchup. We'll see if they can do the unthinkable and beat the Cadets. Let's see, who are coming off a 41-0 win over Baldwin, their second straight shutout. Stars Mill, they had a 48-0 shutout over Shaw. Talked about how good their defense has been. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. Stevenson put up a season high of 62 points against Northwest Whitfield in a 62-15 victory. They're in the second round for back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2014. Bainbridge, who's ranked number 3, had a strong 49-14 win over Trinity Christian, and then they're going to play Perry next. And then Central Carroll, they were playing Hateville Charter in the first round. We talked to Coach Brown. That is a very tough team to match up with. They've got incredible athletes at the skill positions, and I think it's a unique team. Central Carroll hasn't faced an explosive skill player based team in a lot of weeks, because most of their region with Cedartown, they're just hard running teams, and so that was a tough matchup, but they held on 41-33, and they're going to play Lovett next week. All right. Also on Saturday, we had the 7A game. Camden County 29-15 win over Newton. So Newton's season comes to an end. It was a solid year. I think their main goal, they want to win the state championship. Newton has produced more college players, NFL players. They're up there with anyone. They have a proud alumni base, but the one thing they want to do is prove that they can make a deep run. Camden County spoiled that. They were up 15-0, and then Camden roared back with 29 unanswered points. And now we have a big-time matchup this week with Camden County and McEachern. Should be a heck of a game. All right, in Class 2A, let's see, we have, no surprise here, Pierce County, the number, forgot what they're ranked in 2A, but they won 42-7 over Ace Charter. They're now 10-1. Big time opening win for them. Appling County, another favorite in Class 2A, cruised to a 49-0 win over Northeast, a really solid number 2 seed out of Region 2. Union County defeated Eagles Landing Christian 24-17. Fellowship Christian, a 42-14 win over Redan, and Josh Miholin has been unbelievable for them. He was their hero in the region championship game, and then he had 4 touchdowns on Saturday, 2 on offense, 1 on defense, and a kickoff return touchdown. So he's the Class 2A reigning male soccer player of the year, and he's been unbelievable this season. Just a great athlete for Fellowship Christian. I'll have to see in a sec who they're going to play in the next round. And then a huge win for North Cobb Christian. They faced Fannin County, a tough team despite being number 4 seed, and they won 33-27. You had Rockmart, a team that went deep last year, 28-0 win over Washington. And then Fitzgerald, last year's state runner-up, had a 38-7 win over Putnam County. They're going to play Spencer next on the road. And then Spencer advanced to the second round for the first time since 2015 and second time since winning state in 1967. So they got a tough matchup heading up. And then Callaway, they actually played on Friday. They beat Providence Christian. And then let's see any other. Okay, so Columbia is going to play North Cobb Christian. Cook, we know what's gone on with them this season. They've had quite a year with the forfeits, the overturning, and then the number 1 seed. But they got a 25-14 win over Washington County. So let's take a quick pause. We'll get into 7A, 6A, and 5A on the other side.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me, can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into Friday's results now. Starting in 7A, Carrollton 54-14 win over Harrison. I didn't get to watch highlights, but from people that were at the game, they said Juju was just on a different level. He was 15-19 for 435 yards and 7 touchdowns. Very reminiscent of what we saw last year when he made that run to the state finals. and then set the state championship passing record with, I think, 535 yards in that loss. So that's just insane numbers right there. And we know what they can do with their backfield too. So Carrollton, man, if they didn't lose that opener to Hughes, I'm telling you, they would be the top story in the state right now. And they're going to be hosting Valdosta this upcoming week. Grayson, 34-24 win over Richmond Hill. We know how good that Region 1 is, the South Georgia teams. You emerge from a region where Lowndes doesn't make the playoffs, so you're going to be a good squad, but that was a very hard-fought win, 34-24. I think in that game, Grayson was up early, ran into some penalties, but ultimately they extended the lead with a Dylan Elder touchdown run, and then John Sinius, the X Factor and MVP of this Grayson team when they need him, had an 83-yard touchdown that put them up 34-17 in the fourth quarter before Richmond Hill cut into it and made it a 10-point game. Mill Creek played Osborne in Osborne's first ever playoff game. I knew that was going to be a tough matchup, but that is a good learning opportunity for the Cardinals. That was a 42-17 win by Mill Creek. Looks like Cam Robinson had another big performance for them. All right, North Gwinnett beat West Forsyth 31-6. They've looked really good so far these last few weeks. We saw them against Norcross. The offense is playing outstanding, and they've got a tough matchup against Walton this week. All right, North Paulding beat East Coweta 22-19 in overtime, one of the closer games in the first round, and that was quarterback Tyler Neer for North Paulding getting the game-winning touchdown pass to lead the Wolfpack. And he has had a great season as well. At one point was leading all of 7A in passing. All right, Colquitt County 51-25 win over Parkview. I've got to look into this a little closer. I heard Nykar left the game. That's their quarterback on crutches. I did see they had a backup take probably like 6 pass attempts, so I don't know how serious that injury is. That obviously would be huge. They're undefeated. They beat Parkview, and now they get ready to host Westlake. That's going to be a long trip for the Lions. I don't know how many people are going to be traveling for it, but the big question mark is going to be if Nykar is ready to go. All right, so Valdosta, man, they beat Archer 41-3. They've looked very tough. That entire region played outstanding. And yeah, big time 41-3 win. I was surprised with how well, because we talk about, the toughest region in 7A is that Grayson, Parkview, Archer, Newton one, but I think Region 1 definitely showed up in a big way, going 3 out of 4. All right, then Walton, 66-7 win over Mountain View. Man, I looked at the stats in that game. Jeremy Hecklinski was amazing. I think he had just 1 incompletion, 5 touchdown passes. It's not the 7 that Juju had, but still a great performance. And then I gotta shout out Loda Ogukwe. He is the senior defensive end for Walton. He's going to Yale, and he had another multi-sack game. He had 2. He had 3 earlier against Cherokee, I think 3 in the North Cobb matchup, and he is leading them in that department. He's been unbelievable this season, and so when you have on your offensive and defensive lines, you have a combination of Ivy League and SEC commits. That's brains and brawn, I guess you could say. They have been outstanding. I think the key to Walton this year, obviously Jeremy Hecklinski, but that defense is probably the most talented defense that Walton has had. All right, the other ones, let's see. McEachern has now won 7 games in a row after their 0-4 start, and they went up 42-0 over Campbell in the second quarter, and then that was the final score after scoreless second half. Buford, a 50-0 win over Wheeler. They completely dominated that one. Looks like Dylan Raiola had 5 touchdowns in the first half, 12 of 15 passing, 218 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air, and also had 32 rushing yards and a rushing score. Norcross, a 34-10 win over Denmark. They're going to be in the second round for the 6th straight year. Let's see, and they're going to host Buford this upcoming week. Milton got their 6th straight win and its 4th shutout during that span, 53-0 victory over Duluth. They match up with Collins Hill this week, who was a massive, I think, 45-14 winner over North Cobb. I'll talk about that one in a sec. Westlake struggled against Marietta. They were down 9-7 pretty much every time I was checking the score, but then they used a 21-0 run to win, 28-9, I think. And then they're going to have to, as we mentioned, travel to Colquitt. But yeah, that North Cobb score, I know, shocked a lot of people, not because Collins Hill is a bad team. It's just they completely blew them out. It was not close at all. And the numbers from what I saw were probably Collins Hill's most efficient offensive game all season. Their defense has been good. It's kept them in games, but they have not had a game like that. They passed the ball, got everyone involved, and then I think rushed for about 280 yards. And then their defense just dominated. Tons of sacks, made North Cobb one-dimensional. We know how well North Cobb can run the ball. They were able to match them physically in the trenches, force them to pass, and then just got after it. So a great game plan by Collins Hill, and it should be a very intriguing matchup against Milton. That is a team they've already faced this year early in the season. I think they forced Milton to have 5 turnovers in that game. Or was that Collins Hill that had 5 turnovers?
Collins Hill.
Yeah, Collins Hill had 5 turnovers and still kept it close. It was a very ugly game, but it was also close. It was like 19-7 or something. So that should be an interesting one, especially you just got to think of the confidence that win gave to the Collins Hill program that won a state title 2 years ago, had an awful season last year, struggled in games this year, but obviously battled an incredible schedule. And then to come out and dominate like that, they certainly have a lot to build off of, and they're going to try to do it again against Milton. All right. So that's it for 7A. In 6A, you had Langston Hughes 41-7 win over North Forsyth. We've seen North Forsyth play. It's a good team, but man, they completely dominated them in the second half. It was 14-7. Hughes was leading. They put up 27 in the final quarter. That's something Hughes can do, put up points really quick. We've seen them do it the last few seasons, but Justice Savage, 24 carries, 170 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Carson Baker got involved in the backfield, giving Justice relief, 4 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown. Prentice Air Nolan, 13 of 19 passing, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. And obviously the defense got after it, holding North Forsyth to just 7 points. Jordan Thompson and Zach Hill both had interceptions, and Jordan Thompson also had a forced fumble. So I think the way and then this one stat from the Hughes game I wanted to point out, because this will be interesting to watch this week when they play Rome. They had 18 penalties for 161 yards in that North Forsyth game. North Forsyth had just 2 penalties, so they've got to clean that up against Rome. And I know Coach Coach Boone will be on his team for that. But 18 penalties, that is quite a lot. So despite that, they were able to win 41-7. All right, let's get into the rest of 6A. Thomas County Central, 49-0 win over St. Pius. St. Pius has struggled this year, but still another shutout for Thomas County Central. That defense, they must be averaging like 4 points a game. It's just insane how many shutouts they have this season. They're 11-0. Gainesville pulled away 46-27 against South Paulding. That game was very close. Looked like it was just a 19-14 game at the half. Baxter Wright had a great second half effort though. Sky Niblett had 2 touchdown receptions. I think he's closing in on 30 touchdown receptions for his career. I've seen some of these highlights. He looks a lot more physical this year. He's showing more speed, and he's no longer just that red zone threat. So he is going to be a big factor. And also 4 touchdown runs from Gavin Hall, who's having just an all-state season. In Gainesville's region championship game where they clinched, he had 17 carries for 320 yards off 17 carries. That's how good Gavin Hall has been. All right, Woodward Academy, 31-14 win over Evans. That's a team that is not getting a lot of hype, but certainly has the talent to make a run in 6A. Rome, 56-0 win over Sprayberry. Reese Fountain had 4 touchdowns as they cruised to another big victory. So I think Hughes has definitely played a tougher schedule than Rome this year. Did Rome play Carrollton too? Yeah, we were at that game. Okay, so they do have that common opponent. I mean, Rome has played a tough schedule. I just think in region play, they didn't have a Douglas County to challenge them for that region title. So I think they'll be battle tested, but it should be a very intriguing matchup. And it looks like Javarius McDermott is back in that Wolves backfield. He had 2 touchdown runs. All right, Sequoia got a impressive 33-9 win over Alpharetta. I think Alpharetta is still a young team, but that's a big win for Sequoia nonetheless. And then some other results in 6A. Looks like Lee County got a key win. Houston County's big win over North Atlanta. That was not an easy one, 42-32. And then, gosh, Houston County's going to play Woodward this round. Man, that's going to be a big-time matchup. And then Lee County, 44-7 win over Dunwoody. They're going to play Lovejoy, who was the number 4 seed that beat Effingham County 47-14. So similar to the Cass one, just a number 4 seed dominating, getting a big win. And then Lanier was able to hold on for a 21-14 win over East Paulding. That's a big win for the Longhorns. They've got to go to Roswell next round. And then Roswell's win was 51-24 over River Ridge. Brunswick scored a late go-ahead touchdown and 2-point conversion to beat Mundy's Mill 28-22. Let's see, Marist had a 38-21 win over Northside Warner Robins. And then Jonesboro won a 32-31 thriller over Glen Academy. That game was wild. They had a huge lead. Glen Academy almost came back, and then they closed it out. In 5A, Coffee, similar to Thomas County Central, their defense is giving up just 4 points a game. 56-0 win over Chambly, just completely cruising, running the ball all over defenses, just not allowing anything from their opponents. Eastside had a 38-14 win over Chapel Hill. Mays, 65-7 win over Loganville. Watch out for Mays in 5A. They have a chance to beat anyone, and they're going to be playing Cass this week. That's going to be an unbelievable matchup. Two teams that are physical, have just a never quit mindset, guys that are playing both ways, and certainly it's going to be a great matchup. Ware County looked good, 49-0 win over Decatur, and then Statesboro got a 49-28 win over Tucker. It's a big win for the Blue Devils. Hiram, 31-24 win over Cambridge. I really like Hiram, but I would have liked to see them maybe win that game a little more convincingly. Creekside, 63-6 win over Flowery Branch. Big time output by their offense. Warner Robins, 48-15 win over McIntosh. Jefferson Cruz past Jackson. Atlanta, 48-14, and then Dalton had the big 39-17 win over GAC. Able to have a field day running the ball. Adriel Hernandez, 28 carries, 172 yards. And then Dutchtown, 42-31 win over Northgate. I think Northgate is a very tough team. All right, in 3A, the big result was Monroe area over Sandy Creek, 4 overtimes. Apparently, Ricky Valdivinos had 3 opportunities to kick that game-winning field goal. I think he lined up from like 47 yards, missed it. Sandy Creek had a penalty. Lines up from 42 yards, missed it. Sandy Creek had a penalty. Lined up from 39 and made it. So that is a tough way to go out. But credit to him for shaking off those other 2. And I guess it was a mulligan maybe, or practice stroke, but he was able to get the thriller, and that is a big result. And that's what stood out most to me in 3A last year. That region with Sandy Creek, Douglas, and Cedar Grove dominated the field. This year it's clear the rest of 3A is way better, and Cedar Grove's the last one standing. And they had to fight really hard in the first round. You got Savannah Christian. They beat Peach County 48-46 in 4 overtimes. Okay, so that was the 4 overtime game, not the Monroe. All right, Mary Persons, 35-19 win over Long County. Thomasville and Harlem, I thought that was an even matchup. Thomasville got the win by a touchdown, 36-29. Coney County methodically beat Douglas 28-14. That is a big result, and honestly a little surprising. I thought Douglas had a chance to shake up 3A this year. Calvary Day was just phenomenal. 48-0 win over Jackson. Jake Merklinger did not throw an incompletion, and they are cruising. I think their defense looks better. They're just definitely better in every department than they were last year when they made that semifinal run. Wesleyan had a big win over Ringgold. Gilmer advanced by knocking off top seed Adairsville 35-28. Credit to Coach Standard and the Bobcats is a big victory. And then Crisp County, let's see, they had a 32-6 halftime lead over Hepzibah, got a 45-20 win. They've been really hot lately, had a big win over Thomasville to get that number 2 seed. And then Lumpkin County is 11-0 after a 52-6 win over Oconee County. All right, real quick in Class A Division I, Mount Vernon 35-7 win over Pepperell. It's a big victory for the Mustangs. A fairly new school, but they've been talented these last few years. I think this might be an opportunity to make their deepest run yet. Commerce had another big win, 58-19 over Jasper County. Elbert County looked good, 35-27 win over Oglethorpe. And then you also had big victories by Irwin County, Rabun County, Dublin, and then Swainsboro bounced back from back-to-back losses with a 20-0 win over Metter. In Class A Division II, defending state champion Bowden, 56-0 win over Taylor County. Portal, another number 1 seed, and highly ranked team. 35-12 win over Turner County. Slide County was off this week. They're going to match up with Lincoln County in the next round after the Red Devils win, 42-0 win over Wilkinson County. So that's it for Class A Division II. Let's go ahead and take one more quick break. We'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back. So this weekend, fall sports continued to wrap up. We had the cheerleading state championships. You can see the results at scoreatl.com, but it was on Friday. Bleckley County, Northgate, Mount Perrin, and Central Carroll won titles. For Mount Perrin, that is their 12th cheerleading state championship, and it looks like the Eagles won the team's first championship in 2012. And after its victory in two-way on Friday, successfully defended the title for the 11th straight time. So a true dynasty right there. Looks like Central Carroll picked up their third all-time and Bleckley County's fourth and Northgate's 11th. And then on Saturday, it was coming down to Lambert and South Forsyth in 7A. Both of them qualified with perfect scores, but Lambert was able to get the victory. That's their 8th championship. In Class 3A, Mary Persons won its first since 2020. And then in 6A, North Forsyth won. That was their first ever title. And then Walton's Co-ed won for the first time. And that's a big win for them. Co-ed's a lot different, just with the guys in there. It's just a different routine. The skills, the flips are a little higher, and so it's always a fun way. I know Mill Creek has a bunch of co-ed state championships. So does Peachtree Ridge. So Walton was able to get its first. So that's a big victory for them. All right, let's go to some basketball results real quick. So week one's underway. There's some huge events over the weekend. The McEachern Elite 8 tip-off had a bunch of top 10 matchups, and undoubtedly the big winner was Grayson, who had a 79-62 win over McEachern. So Grayson, if they weren't number one in the polls last week, they are across the board now. That was the result that people were waiting for. Jakari Harris, 20 points, 6 assists. App State signee Anthony Austin, 17 points. And for McEachern, Ace Bailey, the number one rated player in the state, had 29 points. So the Stars did their thing. As for the rest of 7A, Wheeler had a 52-49 win over Dutchtown. Looks like Ricky McKenzie had 17 points. Arkansas State signee Josh Hill, 16. Newton erased a 26-19 halftime deficit to Osborne and won 55-45. And then it looks like Maynard Jackson had a 71-65 win over Carrollton, who obviously still has some football players out for the season. And then Grovetown had a 59-52 win over Norcross in the Double Trouble Invitational. And let's see. Oh, yeah, another big win was Peachtree Ridge. They had a 83-64 win over St. Francis, who's ranked number 4 in Class A Division 1. In Class 6A, a couple results. Woodward Academy, a team that's contending in 6A this year. Alexander's ranked number 1, ahead of the War Eagles, but they had a 71-68 win over Class 3A number 2 ranked Douglas. Shiloh had a 69-61 win over Winder Barrow, a highly ranked team in Class 5A. And then defending state champion Kell beat Green Forest Christian 85-61 in the Elite 8 Tip-Off Classic. Jalen Collin had 20 points, 7 assists, and then C.J. Brown, the leader of Kell, South Florida Signee, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals. So that's just some of the basketball action that is underway, some big-time tournaments, and we'll have more of that updated. Our rankings for basketball, I believe they will be updated on Wednesday. All right, let's just look at some of the big second-round matchups that are going to highlight this week. We will be at Rome for Rome against Hughes. It's a rematch of last year. I think they met in the semis. Rome had might have been a 42-point victory. Sorry, Hughes did over Rome. So we'll see if they can close the gap. It's definitely a different-looking Hughes team. They're more run-oriented this year with Justice Savage. They have some young playmakers that obviously graduated a lot, but I think they've been not as dominant, but definitely solid, and they're still led by Prentice Air Nolan. So in 7A, Buford and Norcross. It's going to be tough for Norcross in that one, but they will host. I think that's an interesting factor of it. Buford's going to have to do it all on the road this postseason. You're going to have North Paulding against Grayson. Can Grayson look better after they were up 34-17, but North Paulding, senior led. They returned, I think, 9 guys from their defense last year, and they are a very balanced offense. Collins Hill is going to travel to Milton. I mentioned that's a rematch from earlier this season. You got Westlake having to make the trek to Colquitt. Big storyline is Nycar going to be healthy for the Packers. Peachtree Ridge is going to play Mill Creek. That will be their toughest game of the season for sure. They did beat a tough Lambert team 20-17 in the first round. They've only lost 1 game this season. Camden County at McEachern will be a phenomenal 7A game. And then the North Gwinnett Walton 1 and Valdosta Carrollton. I like those second round matchups in 7A. The big ones in 6A, you're going to have number 4 seed Lovejoy going to Lee County. Lee County is going to be a really heavy favorite in that one. You're going to have Douglas County hosting Sequoia. I think same thing. The Tigers are going to be heavy favorites. Then the Houston County Woodward Academy one, I think that one's a toss-up. Blessed Trinity is going to be going to Gainesville. They're coming off a great 24-10 win over Creekview, but Gainesville is going to be the number 1 ranked team, and that will be at Gainesville. Jonesboro is going to go to Thomas County Central. As tough as their schedule's been, I know that's just another week for them, but can anyone put up points on that Thomas County Central defense? That's going to be the key. Brunswick against Marist, and then Lanier against Roswell. So I think with 6A, we're going to see some big-time clashes in the quarterfinals. All right, in 5A, Ware County and Warner Robins, a rematch of last year's finals. Dalton is going to have to go to Creekside after its win over GAC. I've got Creekside ranked number 1 currently in 5A. Statesboro is going to have to take on Harris County. Hiram and Jefferson, highlight that one for sure. That's a big test for Hiram, and we'll see how Jefferson's able to handle that. They will be at home. Jones County at Coffee. The Maze is going to host Cass. You got Dutchtown against Jenkins, and then Eastside against Cartersville. In 4A, my top matchup, I think LaGrange and Benedictine. See if Benedictine's vulnerable at all. LaGrange has been playing outstanding, and they are well coached. They're going to have to devise a game plan, though, to stop the Benedictine offense. And then I think New Hampstead at Stars Mill will be an entertaining one, and then Perry against Bainbridge. And then you have Cedartown against North Oconee. So we'll be talking about it all week. Najee and I will be back tomorrow at noon for Underrated and Overlooked. We'll talk college football, NFL, recruiting, and obviously GHSA football. But tune into that. You can watch the full replay of the Kel Cass game. We have it on our Score YouTube page. Please like it and subscribe. And then we'll be back then. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.